Rusty, to start out, would you introduce yourself a little bit and give us a little brief history of yourself so that we can establish who you are?
Sure. My name's Rusty Newman. Born in St. Louis. I'm kind of the outsider. Everyone in Terry's family and all his friends seem to be from the South Side, obviously attending Cleveland High School. I went to Normandy High School up north. Played baseball at Normandy High School. Ended up going to Central Missouri State University and playing baseball. And then, of course, played with Terry on the Flexolite teams. Had the opportunity, and it's been so long ago, I'm not quite sure how I got associated with Flexolite, but was asked to go to a tryout one time with Flexolite because they were looking for another pitcher. And quite honestly, the first thing I remember about Terry is he's the first person that addressed me when I got there at Forest Park baseball field. That's where we used to practice, and don't remember too much about it except this pretty good sized guy comes up to me and tells me he's the number one pitcher on this team and wants to welcome me. I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a long day. That's how I met Terry.
What year was that?
It was the summer of my senior year that I graduated, so it'd be 1966.
Okay.
So that's when I first met Terry Yochum.
Is Flexolite the only team that you played on with Terry on?
You know what? This is how bad I guess age affects us. I can't remember what the original name of our team was. We were under a different banner, I think, the first year, and then I believe we turned to Flexolite. I played with Terry for 4 years. So the last 3 years were under Flexolite, and obviously you probably know we had some great teams. We won the championship every year.
Is that the team that Mr. Fogarty managed?
Yes, he managed all 4 years that I played with Terry was under Ed Fogarty.
Okay. What have you learned in your relationship with Terry about his personality and what motivates him?
Egotistical. He'll love that. Extremely competitive. I think Terry and our relationship's a little bit different. If you don't mind me going into this.
Please do.
We after we finished playing for Flexolite, there was a split in our baseball team. I stayed with Mr. Fogarty. Bill Davis formed another team, and Terry and most of the guys went with Bill. And although I still saw Terry, played against him at that point, we didn't hang out together like we used to. Bill and I and Terry were pretty close. We'd go out to dinner, go out to have an ice cream with Mr. Fogarty after practice, those type of things. Those things obviously stopped. And that was after my senior year in college. So a little bit after that was completed, then we went our separate ways. I went in the service and then got married, began a teaching career up in the Kansas City area, and didn't hear from Terry or see Terry probably for 20 years. About 15 years ago, I think Bill Davis was the one that called me, and then I got a call from Terry, just kind of to reminisce. And I believe we went up to met up in Omaha for the World Series because Bill was umpiring. And ever since that time, we've I think become very close, and have stayed in real close contact. We visit each other. He comes into Leawood, Kansas, and I go up to Colorado, and we've done a lot of things.
Are you also in the Amateur Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yes, I am.
Could you tell us a little bit about your induction and your relationship with Terry in the Hall of Fame organization?
Well, I was inducted into the Central Missouri State Hall of Fame a couple years prior to that. And Terry and I had begun talking about that and said that he had been inducted into St. Louis Amateur Hall of Fame. And I said, Terry, I got to be honest with you, I've never heard of it. And he explained it to me, and he says, you need to be in there. And I said, well, I haven't been back to St. Louis since 1967. Or since 1970. When I moved away, I never moved back, although my family's still there. And as you can imagine, when Terry sets his mind to do something, as in his career, chiropractic career, his baseball career, whatever it is, he's going to get it done. So filled out the application. I'm sure Terry twisted a few arms, contacted the right people, and then in 2005 I was inducted.
Good. Have you had any particularly exciting or interesting experiences with Terry away from the baseball setting?
Not too many, to be honest with you. As I said, once we split and we went our separate ways, during some real formative years of our kids growing up and that type of thing, we weren't in contact. Some of the memorable moments is going up to his house and watching his kids dance. They were so involved in swing dancing,
Yes.
as was he, and to watch him, Mr. Graceful, go on a dance floor is something unique. One of the last things I remember is Terry always trying to get me to play baseball again, even though it was hard for him to understand that 55, 56, however, when he was still playing, that it's not the same as being 20. Went up to Denver to watch him play. I said, I'll come up, I'll watch you play. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I'll do this. I had a son that went through college playing baseball, and I threw batting practice to him every day. So I was really in pretty good shape, and probably still throw. And I went to watch him pitch a game. And in your mind, you're always thinking that you're 21, 22 years old. So you're thinking you're going to go watch these young kids play baseball. And I watched a bunch of old guys play baseball. I kind of made up my mind that day, I'm not playing this game. As Terry hit a ball and then tried to run to first base. That's pretty comical.
Well,
He doesn't run well.
as you remember, even at the 18 and 20-year-old mark, would you say that Terry's running abilities were top notch?
Have you ever seen a fast duck?
Yeah.
When your feet go this way, you don't run fast. Terry does not run fast.
Yes, I agree with that.
Speed was not one of his attributes.
Were you ever introduced or had any involvement with Terry's parents?
I absolutely met both his mom and of course Doc. Unbelievable people, just unbelievable, caring, and I think a lot of Terry's positive attitude and drive is driven from his family. Terry's was very close to his mom and dad. I know in their passing, it was extremely hard for Terry. Doc used to always bring us over after practices, put us on the table, especially us pitchers, give us rub downs, ultrasound, pop our backs, do whatever it takes to make sure that we were ready. I think Terry's life revolves around two things, or did revolve around two things. Him playing baseball, which obviously led to his chiropractic career, and his mom and dad.
What would you say was the driving factor in Terry's professional life as regarding his father's influence?
I don't know if Terry grew up wanting to follow in Doc's footsteps. I suspect he did. Obviously, Doc being a chiropractor, Terry going into chiropractic medicine. Doc's drive, Doc's relationship with people, always wanting to help. And those of us that know Terry know that sometimes you got to get kind of past Terry's facade and all the BS, but Terry's always willing to help. I mean, he's the classic example of what I call a friend. No questions asked. That's the way Doc was. Doc would always help anybody at any time. If we had something hurt, Doc never thought about saying that'll be $15 or whatever. Come on by. I'll make time for you. I'll squeeze you in. Terry's the same way.
Do you think that in Terry's own mind, he has satisfactorily lived up to his father's expectations of him?
I think his father would be proud of him. I don't think Terry's expectations are always set so high he'll never accomplish them. Terry probably still thinks he's going to play in the big leagues at some point. I think Terry's dad would be extremely proud of what he's done, and I know he was at the time of his passing. I think Terry's satisfied. I don't know if he could ever meet his expectations.
From your history with Terry and what you know about him, what impact do you think that just the pure sport of baseball has had on Terry's life?
Well, I think baseball, in some fashion, one way or another, has been his life. I think he takes some of the attributes of being a baseball player and applies those to his practice. Wanting to be the best, always wanting to do more than maybe a person could accomplish. Terry was a good pitcher, obviously. Was not probably a great pitcher that could make it in the major leagues, but he always strived for that expectation. And I think that's why he's continued in baseball, playing at 60 years old. Nobody plays baseball at 60 years old, but Terry does. Trying to get him to play golf, and he doesn't get it. He doesn't want to play golf. I think he's taken the drive, the competitiveness, the hard work. Terry had to work hard to be a good pitcher. Terry's had to work very hard to be a good, nationally recognized chiropractor. I don't think anybody ever handed Terry anything as a baseball player, and I'm sure no one just handed Terry the ability to be a chiropractor.
Do you have any sense that in his chiropractic professional life, Terry carries a chip on his shoulder and is trying to prove that chiropractic is a medical equal to any other medical discipline?
Without question. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Terry takes the chiropractic medicine very seriously. I always joke about him and Jim Rome. I don't know if you know about Jim Rome on the radio, but he always knocks chiropractors. Talks about, and I always ask Terry if he's taken his skeleton to the mall yet this week to get free exams. And he knows what that means because that's what Jim Rome says all the time. And I'm not sure exactly, I don't follow Terry's career up in Denver that well as far as his chiropractic medicine, but I do know he teaches at the university. And he told me not too long ago he was the only non-medical doctor, I believe, to help administer the boards in the history of that school, and maybe in the history of the country. It's always been a medical doctor, so that's quite an honor. Terry feels, rightfully so, that chiropractic medicine is a medicine. It's a healing art, and it's part of the medical profession. I think, in my opinion, that's why he went into radiology, because that's a separate part of chiropractic medicine. And I think that's why he likes to go out and lecture, because I think he likes to draw those comparisons between the medical profession and what he practices.
From your experiences visiting Terry in his home, how would you describe his home situation, his relationship with his wife and children, local friends, neighbors, that sort of thing?
Well, you mean the children we know about? Just kidding.
Well,
Just kidding.
There may be others.
Some of the rumors I heard. No, sorry, Inga. Just kidding. Devoted father, loves his kids. He would do anything for Alicia and Phil.
What effect do you think his daughter Kimberly's illness has had in his life?
That's a real interesting question. A big part of his life. I know he cares a great deal about, he loves Kimberly as much as he loves his other two children. That's a hard question. I think he would do anything and does anything for her well-being. That's a tough one.
Do you get, or do you feel his sense of frustration at his own inability to do anything about it?
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. Not only his frustration that as a doctor, that, and he's well versed in her condition, that he can't do anything. And I know he's done everything. He has sought out the most recent research. He's sought out the most proficient doctors in that area. Cost was no issue, whatever it took to go. And I know he has told me before he would travel the world, whatever it takes. And obviously with her condition, there's very little research being done. But yeah, I think he's extremely frustrated that he can't be of more help and either find a cure or do something to relieve her pain or to assist her.
And well, as we discussed, he is very intense, very driven, and this is something beyond his control or sphere of influence. And
Terry's a control freak. I mean, that doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Terry wants to be in control and usually is in control. And Fred, that's a great point because he has no control over this. And I think Terry, in any situation he gets involved in where he doesn't have control over, it's going to be very frustrating for him.
how would you describe your impressions of his relationship and partnership with his wife Inga?
Oh, fabulous. I mean, anytime you're married for 35 years to the same person, there has to be a give and take relationship. Inga obviously is a saint. She would have to be a saint to stay married to Terry for 35 years because she understands Terry. And she probably has more control over Terry than anybody. She understands his drive, his expectations. I know she's capable of just walking away from Terry and just saying, talk to you about it later. Don't need to discuss it now because you're not going to win an argument with Terry at the moment. He just might as well forget it. But she's a saint. Don't know his neighbors. A couple of friends I do know of kids that played baseball with Phil. We used to go up there and watch some games. He's become very close to some of the kids and to their parents. Same as always, willing to help, willing to do anything. Probably, I would be interested to sit down and talk to Terry what his feelings are about Phil. I know he's excited that Phil has chosen a career for himself and done very well in school. I know he's really proud of Phil and Leisha both. But you know Terry wanted him to be a baseball player. Probably a chiropractor too, although at one time he said he would never hope his kids would go into chiropractic medicine because of the state of medicine now anyhow. So that would be interesting to talk to Terry. But I know he's well respected, has a lot of friends. As we go up there and get in this little Corvette and drive around and wave to everybody and go he takes me here, takes you there. You know, everybody Terry knows, he assumes you know. Whether you live in Colorado, you went to Cleveland High School, it's hard for Terry to understand, I don't know everybody from Cleveland High School. I told him last night, I said, Terry, do you realize I don't know where Cleveland High School even is? I couldn't find it if my life depended on it. So
That's an area I would like to explore a little further. Terry seems to get ideas in his head that he firmly believes to be true. Have you ever experienced stories or introductions that Terry believes that you have complete knowledge of that you have no idea what he's talking about?
On a daily basis. Mostly on acquaintances. And maybe my memory's not as good as Terry. But it's mostly baseball related because that's how I associate with Terry. When we go to these Hall of Fame dinners, the year I was inducted, he named off all these people. You're going to be so excited. This guy and this guy. Remember when this guy? I said, Terry, I have absolutely no idea who you're talking about. Sometimes I don't even tell him. I go, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was good. Boy, he used to throw. No clue who he is. Terry, I'm from up north. I have no idea who you're talking about. Now, some of the names, the Ron Kennys and the Jim Kicks, I do know because they're obviously in professional baseball. But Terry evidently knows everybody, and if he doesn't, he will get to know him. If he tells you he knows Whitey Herzog, he does now. At one time, did he? I don't know. But he probably found Whitey Herzog on the street somewhere and introduced himself. I saw him last night when we were at the banquet. He walked right up to Jay Randolph, introduced himself like he's his long-lost buddy. Now he knows Jay Randolph. So Terry, I think, does know a lot of people eventually.
Do you think that Terry is impressed or somehow motivated by the other people's status?
Yeah, probably. Terry, especially in his own world, is highly regarded, and I think people know that. When I have actually numerous chiropractic friends in the I live in Leawood, Kansas, up in the Kansas City area, and have met them throughout the years. And a couple of them in the school district that I oversee, the athletic departments, they coach for me, and it's funny. I never believed in chiropractors, and Terry convinced me one time to go see a chiropractor because my back was bothering me, and then I've been going ever since. And when I go, I've gone to 2 or 3. I mentioned a friend of mine told me I need to see you. You could help me, and he said he would like for you to send them the X-rays if there's any. And they go, well, who? And I'll go, well, Terry Yochum. And they go, the Terry Yochum? I said, no, this is a friend of mine up in Colorado. Doctor Terry Yochum? No, Terry's. They know who Terry Yochum. I mean, I try to convince him. Look, he's a friend of mine who could not throw a curveball, didn't throw very hard, but thought he did. Thought he was a great pitcher. That Terry Yochum. He's full of BS, hot air. Yeah, I think he's a pretty good chiropractor. No, they know Terry. He's nationally recognized. As a matter of fact, I've had a couple of teachers who work for me whose husbands are chiropractor who brought me their textbooks and want to know if I could get Terry to sign it. So I just signed it for him. It's in the back.
He'll love that.
He'll love that. He doesn't know that yet.
Have you met Terry's sister?
I've met Kay. I don't have a close relationship with Kay. I don't know her very well.
Do you have any sense of Terry and his sister's relationship at all?
Oh, I know there's a close relationship. Terry will talk about Kay a lot when we talk. Obviously, with the recent illness of her husband, I know that affected Terry a lot. I think he's close to his sister. I think their whole family was close. As far as them growing up together and that type of thing, I don't have any knowledge of that.
I want to explore an area that has become very sensitive in the last few months. From your early days of playing on the Flexolite teams, how would you describe Terry's relationship with Bill Davis?
Oh my, wow, that's interesting that we're talking about that. Best friends. A great example of no questions asked. I think Terry would do anything for Bill. They were certainly. Terry's much closer to Bill than probably Terry is to me. They stayed in contact the whole time. I know it had to be very difficult for Terry to leave Ed Fogarty and go with Bill Davis. Ed was not a great baseball coach. Ed was a great person, was a kind man, and Bill knew baseball. And Bill took over a team that had tremendous success. He got all the best players in the city of St. Louis to play for him. But his allegiance to Bill, he stayed with Bill, and I know they've stayed pretty close all these years. They've stayed in touch. And I know recently they've had a falling out, and it's been very hard on Terry. And I'm not sure how much of this you really want to get into, but
all of it. It needs to be explored if you're going to understand Terry and his psyche.
Well, to understand Terry, couple things. Number one, Terry wants to be in control, and again, he's not in control of this. This is out of his control. I know he feels that he would do anything for someone, and he expects the same in return. Terry, I could call Terry tomorrow and say, Terry, I've got these 3 chiropractors that they want to meet you. And they want you to speak at Cleveland Chiropractic School in Kansas City. And you haven't spoken there probably in 30 years. And they need you to do it on Tuesday. And I need it as a personal favor for you to be here Tuesday and do it. If it was in his schedule, he'd be there. In return, Terry would expect, from friendship, Rusty, I need you up here. I got a problem. Can you fly up here and be here on Wednesday? I need you. and I would do that, and Bill would do that, and he would do that for Bill, and for the situation that's going on now with their relationship, and I don't know if it's a friendship ending relationship, but I know the things that have happened, it's never going to be the same. Terry has asked me, "Do you think our friendship's over?" It's over. And I said, "Nah, it's not over. You don't lose a friendship. It may never be the same, but your friendship's not over." And I said, at some point you've got to forgive Bill as he needs to forgive you, but you have to be very careful not to confuse forgiveness with friendship. So that's wow, this is a powerful thing to say. That's a life-changing event that's taken place with Terry and Bill. And I hope it's reconciled because they're good friends. And that's going to take some time.
Is there anything else in your recollections that you can say to describe Terry Yochum as a human being, a friend, a baseball colleague, or any type of relationship that you've had with him?
Well, I think we've really hit most of the points. And I don't want to overuse the word friendship, but friendship is important if you really know what friendship means. Again, and my point, it's no questions asked, and there are no questions asked. You need this. A friend is there. Terry's there. God, he's so driven, and whatever, and that's why we want him to start playing golf, because we know he'll be playing 7 days a week until he gets it. He sets high expectations for himself and others, and expects people to reach those expectations. And it could be me. It could be Bill, could be anybody, including himself, to reach those. I think he's been a success in what he's done, in everything. Baseball's been a success. He didn't play in he didn't sign a professional contract, but it's been a success, and he's driven. Just his baseball career is the same as his chiropractic practice. He's driven. He's going to be the best person at reading films anywhere in the country, whatever it takes. He's going to play baseball at 59, 60 years old. If it means spending all the money it's necessary to buy this team, to pay for this team, to get the best players, to win a national championship, they're going to do it. And they did. If it means continuing going to fantasy baseball camps with the Cardinals, he's going to do it. He's financially able to do some things that other people can't do, and he uses those resources to gain his objective. And I cannot imagine something that he wants to do that he won't accomplish, or at least give it one hell of a run.
At some gut level, do you think Terry is a happy person?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Do I think he's happy? I don't know how to answer that. I think he's satisfied. I think he's satisfied of his chiropractic career. He has to be, from all the things that he's accomplished. I think he's certainly happy as a husband and a father. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anybody's totally happy with what you do. I think Terry's getting wore down. I think Terry's getting to the point where he sees a chance maybe to back off a little bit and maybe become happier and relax with Inga and do some things with family and friends.
Do you think Terry will ever accept himself?
Wow, this is getting deep.
This is the point.
Will he ever accept himself? Yeah, he just won't tell you.
Okay, fair enough. We've covered a number of areas in your relationship with Terry. Are there any areas that I have failed to explore, or places that we should have gone that I didn't go, that you can think of?
You know, I imagine a lot of his friends through high school and grade school have some great stories for you. Unfortunately, I don't have those. I guess what sticks out, if you go back and say, you know, what do you remember most about Terry and playing baseball? And this is not self-serving in any manner. I was a good pitcher. I don't know if you'd say I was a left-handed pitcher. He was the right-handed pitcher. Was I the number one pitcher on the team? I don't know. You know, I had a great college career. Terry did not have a good college career in pitching. It was okay. We won championships. I won a lot of those games. I basically came in and maybe took Terry's job away from him as maybe being the pitcher on Flexolite. That, just to be real honest. Never once has he ever said anything. Never once has he ever said, I'm the pitcher on this team. Here's your role. All he really ever cared about was winning a championship. And I always thought, this guy's not going to like me. I'm not going to make it on this team. This guy's the pitcher, and how he walks. He's got this duck walk, and he's always got this egotistical type of sway. But once I got to know Terry, we became friends, and his goal was to win, which is his goal now, to win either at medicine, 60 and over, umpiring now, whatever it is, he wants to win. And he accepted me for the fact that I could help achieve that goal. I think that sticks out more than anything.
I think that's an excellent point. Is there any particular game or any particular achievement that you have observed personally involving Terry that might stand out as a defining moment?
I can tell you when he was about as pissed off as I've ever seen him, of which he never said a word about it. And I don't, he could tell you exactly what it was, and I can't remember when he had pitched, but we were playing for the championship, and we had to win a doubleheader on Sunday. And I pitched the first game, and we won in 5 innings. We spread them. Terry went down to warm up, and Ed Fogarty said, "You're pitching the second game also." And I pitched the second game and won it. I think it was a 5-inning. And I know, and I've never mentioned this to Terry, but I know that hurt him. But you know what? He never said a word. The only thing he was glad about is that we won the championship.
I had not heard this story.
I don't think many people... I don't think it's a story Terry has shared with many people. I thought Ed Fogarty was crazy to pitch me a doubleheader, but whatever.
Interesting. I will give you an opportunity to wrap this up now. Any additional thoughts you might have, any random comments or thoughts you might have regarding Terry that you might want to add at this point?
Oh gosh, well, we've covered a lot of things. I consider Terry a friend. I know Terry considers me a friend. Our wives are friends. He's a kind-hearted person that would do anything for you. You got to get past some of that exterior sometimes. He wants things done his way, and sometimes you have to stand up to him and say, "No, we're not going to do it that way, Terry. Rusty, we're going to do this on September 1st. This is no, Terry. No, we're going to do it. Terry. No, I can't do it then, or whatever." That's hard for him to accept, because when Terry sets things, he wants it done his way, and sometimes that's the only way. But you just got to get through that and talk to him. But I consider Terry a good friend, and treasure his friendship with him and his 3 kids and Inga, and hopefully it'll be for a long time.
Rusty, thank you for your thoughts, and hopefully you've made a good contribution to the book.
Some, anyhow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. Good.
That's it. Great.